record, I don't believe there was genocide in Zimbabwe. In fact, there was no genocide. There was a conflict, but there was never a deliberate government policy at any one time to eliminate one tribe against the other. I come from an area where all tribes stay, not a single tribe was eliminated. So I believe that in trying to express our feelings, sometimes we become animated and will be quoted wrongly. I think that statement, it was overexcitement. There was no genocide. Having said that, Honorable President, the President is a champion of ensuring that the yegukurahundi issues are concluded and concluded conclusively. And I believe that when he came in, he started engaging traditional leaders, and he has even said at one forum where I was that he wants the chiefs to take charge and tell us how those issues are supposed to be resolved, because each and every chief has his own or her own traditions and customs that they follow, and whatever they believe would appease the spirits and ensure that we become united, the chiefs must take the lead. But we have agreed that we need, going forward, a clause that speaks to post-conflict resolution and national healing. But what we reject, what I reject, Mr. President, is that there was at any time in this country a deliberate policy to do what Senator Chamangu said. We have never been a country like that. In fact, we are a proud nation that knows no tribalism. Mr. President said, you go to any part of the country, you will find a person, a minority group, or someone from Mashingo, you may find in Matebeleland. Someone in Matebeleland, you find them in Zimba. Mr. President, if you may allow me to give this example, I have a chair lady, and we call her Mndelere, and she never loses an election in Zimba. And this, what I'm saying is correct and true. And she never loses an election in Zimba. So I believe that we must not rewrite history and flare up emotions, but let's unite our people. Having said that, Mr. President, I also want to...
All right, Mure Zimbabwe, this is a very sensitive issue in the sense you put that, you know. So let's talk about this. Toseta zvinzwa ziyambi achitaura kuti nyika muno muZimbabwe hamuna kumbogara maita genocide. Hapana at any given point government yeZimbabwe payakambova nepolicy yekuti let's eliminate this group of people, let's do this. And it ndiziyambi ari kutaura. I think so Chabangu ndio wanga raise a point up. Sezvamangoona Chabangu raise a point achitaura zvoti makamboitika genocide chichi. And then vana ziyambi ndobva vamutenera vakamuti he's being too excitable. Hanzi ari kunakigwa too much, wanakigwa too much wabatwa nema-emotions, wakuita rewrite history, wakutaura zvinhu zvisina kugara zvaitika. And apari kutaurwa nyaya yegukurahundi. So let's talk about that with the respect that this issue deserves, and the people who were victims, who even up to this day, some of them remember their fellow brothers and sisters who unfortunately passed away during that time. So, Mure Zimbabwe, I think Ziyambi is really being insensitive to approach an issue as serious as this one, in this way yaari kuapproacha nayo. So, first of all, Chabangu paataura zvaari kutaura, and you cannot say he is being excitable. You understand? Because it's a real issue. It's just like us black people when we talk of colonialism, and then some varungu that no, you are just being too excitable, you know, you are from emotions and stuff. No, we cannot do that. We cannot do that. Muno Zimbabwe muno nga isusu right, Shona people. Zambia, I think he's also not Shona. He's maybe Chewa or something, right? But let's understand our Ndebele brothers and sisters. Let's have that compassion. It's not about if they are talking about it. Of course, they are going to be angry. They are going to be emotional about it because it's that history, Gwadza, and let's have that respect. So, tiri papapo tikutaura pamusoro pezvazoitika behind. So, Comrade Gungunde, vatipinzira news right now, vari kutiudza about this whole issue, kuti behind closed doors, what happened after this, after Ziyambi ataura zvinhu izvi. Zviri kunzi Mnangagwa was not really happy because remember muparliament muri kutaurwa zvinhu izvi naZiyambi munenge mune vanhu vanobva kunzvimbo dzakasiyana siyana vakawanda, some from Matabeleland, some from Bedbridge, some Mavenda, some Achi, and just imagine all these people from Matabeleland, and then the Minister of Justice just come through and say there was never a genocide, there was never a genocide. I mean, let's talk about what is a genocide in the first place. Let's talk about what is a genocide. A genocide, kureva kuti pane munhu ari kupfuudza vanhu zvichindirana nokuti vanobelonga kutribe ipi kana kuti kurace ipi. As simple as that. That's what a genocide is. Kureva kuti unourayigwa iwewe kuti uri muNdebele. Just as simple as that. Ndo inonzi genocide. This, if it happened, which means it was there. Narratives, you might try to change narratives kuti hapana mbogara paita government police. Yanga isiri government police because it's not Zimbabwean government which did it. No, it's not Zimbabwean government. It's a bunch of people vanozikamwa nemazita. Mugabe was the leader of that. And ne 5th brigade yake nechichi nevamwe vanga vari under that, maybe vana Mnangagwa vanga vari more in that structure, that power structure. These are individuals watoziva. It's not so Ziyambi kana achiti kwanze the Zimbabwean government never had a police. Of course Zimbabwean government will not have a policy like that, but it was a policy yevanhu vakazvironga, vana Mugabe, vana Chi, and whatever they used as justification, it's whatever, but the truth is they did it. And so let's have that respect. What kind of Minister of Justice is this? Of course, is that West Minister of Justice. It doesn't make sense because he's the same guy who pushed Cape 3, So we cannot talk about him as if he's a good guy. But we apologize to our sisters and our brothers from Matabeleland and from other parts of the country who were affected during that time. We really apologize. So let's get to what happened behind the scenes. Mnangagwa, now what we hear. So Ziyambi he was given a warning. This is according to Comrade Gungunde. That he was given a warning after you must be careful with your words because you cannot rile people up. You cannot make people angry because all those guys, assuming they're coming from Matabeleland, that was it was insulting. Yanga intoinonzi insult. You just come and say, otherwise arikutozama kuti rewrite history ndiziyambi. Arikuudza da zvinomboitika zvinombogara zvaitika pane conflict. He's just calling it a conflict. Conflict between who and who. Because you see, this is the thing. That conflict was not between Shona people and the Ndebele people. No, it was between vana Mugabe and whoever they had conflict with, who was leading ZAP and who was leading my dissidents. And that's the conflict. But then, listen to me, my dissidents were doing bad things, even to common people like Ngopinda Kwan, my civilians, and then they kill people, and then they cut their nose, they cut their chichi. Kuna nambere ngoko. Kune batunu kune vanhu kuti tukatosvika ndowana mwana mino, they were victims of dissidents. But then, as the Zimbabwean government, as the leaders, as the presidents, Zimbabwe, vana Mugabe, were not supposed to respond kune zviri kuitwa nemadissidents, because in a way they go also and do the same thing to the Matabeleland civilians, because now you are using state power to go against the civilians, of which they were supposed to tackle it tactically. They were supposed to do their investigations and then find my dissidents on an individual level. Murupabata kwete kunotevera ma civilians zvakaitika during yegukurahundi, they went against civilians. That's the problem. Chero justification yavo iri yekuti dissidents were going also against Shona civilians, but izvozvozvo hazvijustify kuti iwewe uchishandisa state power you go against what? Civilians. You never do that if you are using state power. State power is there because if you have state power, it's so powerful. That's why you have to do proper investigations on everything. You understand? Rather than kutaiwa, because if the state turns against civilians, is it still a state or what? It's no longer a state. For the state will never have to turn against civilians. The state must do everything possible to do real proper investigations and find matsotsi, find my dissidents, and then capture my dissidents and take them through trial, went to court, etc. And it kwete kuita mob justice, iwo shanisa state resources. Right, so Zambi turns out to have strong warning from Mnangagwa right now. You did wrong. You were not supposed to provoke people like that. You were not supposed to say things in that way. Kuoposa Chabangu, kumnyaradza in that way. Of course, Chabangu, we understand kuti wakatengesa. You see, Chabangu man, ndimu vavananga wrong futi. Wakuya mu parliament ko zvine zviri kucomplaina nezvegukurahundi, but ipapo watengesa triple C. What is that? And you are very, very wrong, Chabangu. We don't know how to support you because wakatengesa struggle. Now you watengesera vanhu, the same people vanozva kuti this is the same mafia yakaita gukurahundi, ndo same mafia yauri kucomplaina kwairi. Ndiana nokuhwa mafia yakadaro. They don't care because it's the same people who did gukurahundi. Why are you complaining to them? Makazotitira gukurahundi apa wakavatengesera members of parliament, wakavapa kuti vaite zvavanoda. So unotibowa Chabangu. So anyway, Mure Zimbabwe, this is what is happening. So garai panapa pamzinda wevanhu change chikupai more and more updates neni wenyu super Nexus. Thank you for watching. Peace.
This is the current situation we are having in our country. Isusu says news media tiripo pakutsvagira nyaya. Nouya nenyaya semawana atinenge tadziita. Hatina chatinowedzera kana kutapudza. Thank you so much for watching our video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comment, like and share. And for that, I'm signing out.